Welcome to Wednesday, October 15th, 2025, your Day Weather Podcast brought to you by the Advocates Injury Attorneys. If you've been injured in an accident, don't face it alone. Get an experienced local Wyoming attorney on your side. Free consultations at wyomingadvocates.com or call 307-800-1952. You deserve an advocate. Fast and Furious, the title of the podcast this morning, and you'll see why here in a moment. But we've got a lot going on, and things are going to be moving through quickly. The Pacific storm, which kind of was taking its time along the west coast, is now beginning to move. This is going to impact the northern areas and mountain areas of the central and northern Rockies the most, especially parts of Montana, northern and western Wyoming, Idaho, Pacific Northwest, and south central Canada. We do have on the back side of this system, even though we've got a break in the weather coming Friday, I want to highlight Saturday. We have a sneaky cold front coming in. And I say sneaky because it may not be necessarily represented in forecasts very well at the moment, but Saturday is going to end up being not a nice day for some of you. It's going to be colder, it's going to be windy, and there will be some rain and snow showers. We have a series of fast-moving waves moving across North America next week and a very strong jet stream moving across the Pacific. As we've talked in previous podcasts, when you see very strong jet stream winds moving west to east across the Pacific, this is a harbinger of change in the long term. Not right away, there's a delay, but it is a clue to what may come into Western North America as we get into a little bit later in October. We'll talk briefly also about the Alaska flooding. Snow in the Sierras, yep, that system came in and has promised some snow up there in Mammoth Lakes. And that snow is going to be moving eastward here over the next 24 hours. Beautiful shot along the Wyoming range at sunrise. You can see the streak of snow virga there with a snow shower coming across the western parts of Wyoming. Beautiful shot and more beautiful skyscapes here over the last couple of days, including a shot there out of Estes Park and Rocky Mountain National Park area. When we take a look at these mid and high level clouds ahead of this next Pacific wave, expect them to increase. Now, hopefully, we're not going to get completely cloudy in some areas because I wanted to show you this real briefly. We have not one, not two, but three coronal mass ejections headed towards Earth, and the opportunity for a geomagnetic storm, G2 class, maybe a little bit higher is possible. So some auroras may be showing up. Satellite imagery this morning shows the swirl of clouds here moving out of California into the Great Basin. You may notice we've got a lot of blue showing up here on the satellite imagery. Yep, those are low stratus clouds, and that's also fog. We just have the right setup of warm air coming up over some cool, moist air, and we've got dense fog advisories for a good swath of South Dakota, Nebraska, and eastern Wyoming. So I-90 and I-80 travelers, you may have some dense fog here early in the day today. We'll talk about these areas right here where winter weather advisories are in effect. You can see that swirl of clouds on the satellite imagery, the water vapor loop right here. And notice it's elongated. And this elongation is what's going to pull this storm system north instead of it heading towards the Four Corners area, which is what you'll see sometimes. This is going to be directed more northerly. There you can see the elongation at the 500 millibar level. So that's going to pull this system and rejoin it with the jet stream very quickly. This is today. Look where it is by Friday at noon. Woo! Moving very quickly. And as we see, it is going to be dragging behind it some colder air. So temperatures as we get into Thursday and Friday will be colder. This little ripple is the sneaky little system that comes in Saturday. We'll show you that here in a moment. So when we look at precipitation chances between now and Friday, along the path of the low, you can see where the heavier precipitation is going to be. Along and west of the divide, yep, there's going to be more shower activity. East of the divide here, we've got a little bit of a downsloping effect, so the shower activity won't be as widespread. But along this path where it's cold enough, we're going to see a chance of snow in the northern and western mountains of Wyoming, the Uintas, some of the high Wasatch. There you can see the snow still in California. The heavier snow is definitely going to be focused up into this area here, so hunters keep that in mind. We have winter weather advisories in effect for Wyoming's western mountain ranges. The speed of the system will keep it from producing anything too heavy, but snowfall nonetheless. And one thing I wanted to highlight, we're seeing this on other models as well. The European model is showing South Pass, then down into parts of Sweetwater County, a little bit of a snow band, and this is going to be happening tonight and into the early parts of Thursday. So Interstate 80 travelers, kind of keep this in mind. Evanston, Green River, Rock Springs, Wamsutter especially, South Pass, Togety Pass, going to have some travel concerns over the next 24 to 36 hours. Keep that in mind. And on Saturday, the colder air comes in and filters in. You're going to see it colder tomorrow, Friday, and then Saturday, we've got this next cold surge, the sneaky little system coming our way. That little ripple will produce some moisture. By Sunday, the main trough and front is all the way now into the Great Lakes, and then we've got this next one. It's fast and it's furious with these waves coming across the North Pacific. And by Monday morning, we've got this next wave swinging through. This is going to bring a cold front through the region on Monday. It'll likely bring a little bit of rain and snow with it, snow in the mountains, some rain and snow showers across the low elevations, but the speed of the system will negate anything that's going to be heavy. And this is that little ripple I talked about on Saturday coming through. So we're going to have some clouds, we're going to have some rain and snow showers Saturday. If we're going to have a decent day, and it will be transitory, is going to be maybe Sunday, but even Sunday, winds are likely going to be picking up ahead of this next wave coming in, here it is, to British Columbia and the Pacific Northwest. And there we can see the precipitation that will happen with the secondary wave as it goes through on Monday. And, yep, a little more snow for the mountains in northern and western Wyoming, Montana, and sprinklings of snow elsewhere across the central Rockies. Then on Wednesday of next week, another wave. Now, it doesn't look like much, but this will make it windy. This will bring colder air behind it. This will probably produce mountain snow showers again. And then look up here. You see a lot of blue. We see a stormy pattern up in the Gulf of Alaska and up into the British Columbia area. Strong jet stream winds. That strong gradient is really screaming on through. Now, speaking of which, what I'm showing you now is the 500 millibar chart for the North Pacific. So here's Washington and Oregon, so points of reference here, going all the way over towards Japan. We've got a big area of high pressure that's going to form here, a deep area of low pressure up into Alaska and up into the Bering Sea. And you can see we have a super strong gradient. There's a big temperature contrast. Much colder here, much warmer here, and in between, when you get a strong temperature contrast, which you're going to get this time of year, that causes a strong pressure gradient in changes of air pressure over a short distance. That in turn, put in the rotation of the Earth and the Coriolis effect, and you're going to have winds screaming across the Pacific. Notice how straight they are. These straight line winds cannot physically last very long. Temporarily, but the jet stream will eventually buckle and you'll start to get waves, hence the delay in what happens later. So if we were to animate the 300 millibar or 30,000 foot winds from Tuesday of next week right there and going through next week and going all the way through the 30th of October, you can see that these very strong jet stream winds start straight, then later on they begin to buckle. And then you start to see a little bit more curvature to the flow, especially right there at the end. So this means as we get to the last week of October, we're likely going to see bigger, colder storms reaching North America. Where they go, when exactly they arrive, well, when you get fast and furious like this, the timing can change. One little change can really interrupt timing and the intensity of these waves. So stay tuned. Again, this is where you really can't look past 3 or 4 days in the forecast with any certainty. I wanted to briefly bring up, and I'd like to thank Aaron, who lives in Alaska, for showing this to me and showing me this graphic. The ex-typhoon Halong, which is a typhoon that we were actually talking about, that it could get into the jet stream flow and interrupt things a little bit and make things interesting. Well, that's exactly what's happened. And one reason why western parts of Alaska got so much flooding and why it's been so bad is, to some extent, the models were not very good on the track, and it looked like the worst of the weather was going to stay out here where the X's are, where the models were predicting it, when in reality it came in more on an easterly track. And a lot of western areas of Alaska along the floodplain, it's just flat and low in elevation. So you get a storm surge and you get heavy rain that brings the storm surge off the waters and inland. And so this has happened before, and typhoons do get into the jet stream flow in the fall. That's one reason why you see these bigger changes in the fall, is that energy is transported from the lower latitudes to the higher latitudes. But a good example, again, our models are great, but they're just tools, and you can't take them for face value. Have yourself a good Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow.